Fighting games provide no meaningful incentives or avenues to motivate players to improve. The argument of whether or not fighting games are too hard has been done to death. It can be generally agreed upon that most competitive games like CSGO, StarCraft, and League of Legends have a level of complexity that rivals titles like Street Fighter, especially at the professional level. So if an equal amount of work and dedication is required for both fighting games and traditional esports, why does the FGC bring in 50,000 viewers while League brings in 50 million? It all has to do with the retention and motivation of new players. Let's take a game like League of Legends for example. Say you boot up League for the first time and you don't know what to do. Well, you play on teams of 5, so in the best case scenario, you and 4 other friends will hop on to teach you the game. Even if you don't understand what you're doing or why there's a giant yeti rolling a gianter snowball, your friends will carry you both physically and mentally. When you're looking at the results screen, you might be thinking to yourself, wow, this game is hard. But more likely you're thinking, that was a good distraction to hang out with my friends. This is how a competitive motivation starts to form. You start playing more because you like playing games with your friends. You start wanting to get better, so you stop holding them back. All of a sudden, you've played that godforsaken game every day for the past 2 years, wondering why you aren't happy. This gateway into competitiveness from social interactions is a key thing traditional fighters lack. Most fighting games are one-on-one, so if you're improving for anyone, it's yourself. It also means if there's a huge skill imbalance in your friend group, it's not that much fun. The person who's too good will just be beating on a bunch of training dummies, and the people who are bad are, well, the training dummies. But getting to a point where you have a rotation with your friends is hard in the first place. Any person who's tried to get their friends into fighting games can tell you the main problem: pricing. Most of the popular esports have one thing in common: they're free to play. With 3 clicks and a bad mindset, Valorant can be up and running on your computer with literally no cost. If you want to get into some of the most popular fighting games at the time when they are most popular, you're gonna have to shell out $40 to $60. $60 for a game where you have to work to have fun. That's literally just a gym membership. Oh yeah, and tons of games have DLC fighters. So if you want the full experience, better whip out $5.99 every few months. Sure, you could wait until there's a sale in a few months, but this genre experiences some of the steepest player decline in the industry. Dragon Ball FighterZ, which was massively popular, lost 12,000 average players in its first month, with the next month cutting its number in half again, losing 3,000 players. You might have the willingness to pay for this kind of investment. Your friends who aren't as into it? Not so much. Steep prices also act as a deterrent for buying future titles. You already shoveled $60 into one fighting game you didn't like, putting down another $60 for what could be the same experience is just not worth it. Now I hear you. There's one burning question that you've been waiting to ask. What if I don't have friends? Well, I'm here to tell you you shouldn't be afraid of rejection and you should put yourself out there. Oh, right, you meant in the context of getting into fighting games. The reason I've been focusing so much on the social angle so far is I think the hardest way to get into fighting games is as a beginner by yourself. I've gotten into a few competitive experiences without the influence of anyone else, namely Celeste speedrunning. I've grinded a lot of hours for a very mediocre 38-minute speedrun. The reason I was able to get into it though was because I liked the actual game of Celeste. My first run through the story was one of the most enjoyable experiences I've had in gaming, and I wanted to squeeze as much enjoyment as I could out of that experience. For many modern traditional fighters, the multiplayer is all that gets focused on. And as a newcomer, that usually entails fighting a guy who's been playing since before the year had 4 digits, throwing you as many times in a row as he can while teabagging during your knockdown. If made engaging enough, single-player modes can show beginner players how to play the game, or at least motivate them to learn. Fighting games have had a history of BS final bosses with crazy damage and unfair tactics in arcade mode, but I'm sure there's a fraction of players who actually learned the games they existed in to beat that boss. When that option simply does not exist, or when the story is just half-baked, there is no minor goal for you to reach. There is nothing to get attached to. There is no reason to play the game. It's no secret I love this genre, but it is a bit frustrating to see how small it is compared to the titans that are the FPS and MOBA games. Traditional fighters really aren't that hard to learn. Just like any other game, they require a certain level of dedication to understand, but once you reach that level, it's so rewarding. Getting people to care enough to put that effort in is the problem. I got into KOF because I played the free version of KOF 13 on mobile. I got into Smash Brothers because I thought Subspace Emissary was kind of fun. I got into Brawlhalla because me and my friends needed a game to kill the time with. I was given a pathway into this genre that I fear others may not get. The future is looking way brighter than it usually is though. Multiverses, the platform fighter with a huge company behind it, released free to play, reaching peak numbers higher than any other fighting game before it. Now its player base looks more in line with its brethren, but that's besides the point. More importantly, Project L, the League of Legends fighting game, is on the horizon, and knowing Riot, there's no way you pay a cent for that game unless it's to make your character hotter. Street Fighter 6 seems like it'll have some party modes that might be able to teach some fundamentals in a fun way, in addition to an open world story. If fighting game player bases want to grow, the games have to be more tantalizing to the people not invested in the genre. You don't need to dumb down inputs or remove mechanics. All you have to do is to motivate improvement by making it fun. They've mastered fighting. Now it's time to get the game part right. Hey guys, hopefully that video wasn't too negative, but Happy New Year and I can't wait to grow the channel more in 2023. Bye!